anti-parallel structure, which I'll show you in just a minute. And plus there are these bases that always pair up. So adenine always binds to thymine, and guanine always binds to cytosine. So there are 4 nitrogenous bases. How many of you know this already? Because those of you that have had biology, you had to have had this. And so therefore, you've sort of got a head start on this next exam. So adenine and thymine always bind together. Guanine and cytosine bind together. We'll show you some pictures of this in just a moment. But let me talk about that word anti-parallel structure for you. So let's take a look at this helix. Does it look like a ladder?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And stuff in the rungs of the ladder. So notice that thymine is always binding to adenine. Guanine is always binding to cytosine. See that? We'll talk about why in just a moment. But let's talk about this anti-parallel structure. What you need to learn right now about DNA, I think the best thing for me to do is to show you these carbons. We're going to call this the 5' end, and we're going to call this a 3' end. Right now you're saying why? Well, let me just show you. By the way, do you remember thymine, adenine, guanine, and cytosine? Remember these 4 nitrogenous bases I talked about? Let's talk about this phosphate backbone for just a moment. Here's a phosphate molecule, but let's take a look at this ribose molecule, or deoxyribose molecule. We're going to count the number of carbons. There's carbon number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. So even though you don't see a C there, if you've had chemistry, they teach you that you don't always have to put a C there, but there's a carbon here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. So this ribose sugar, or deoxyribose sugar, is a 5-carbon sugar. You see them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you see how the 5 is sticking up right here? And there's a 5 that sticks up right here, and this is how the one above it connects to it. Here's the number 5 here, and here's how the one above it connects. Here's a 5 here, and here's how the one above it connects. So do you see the 5 is sticking up here and is capable of receiving the attachment of another ribose? You see that? But down here, it's the 3 that's capable of attaching to another ribose. So for instance, it connects, the 3 connects to a 5. The 3 connects to a 5. The 3 connects to a 5. So like a train that has a locomotive at one end and a caboose at the other, notice that the locomotive end is different in shape than the caboose end, correct? And if you're going to add on to the train, doesn't it make sense that you would add on to the back of the train so that the locomotive could pull everything, right? It's not entirely true, but just think about it that way. So the reason why this is called the 5' end is because the 5' carbon right here, is exposed. And the reason why this